I was born in Ukraine and I was raised there until I was about 11 years old. The migration part, it was challenging to move to a new country. You're a teenager, you're moving to a new place, you need to learn new language, you have new friends.
What were your feelings like when you're going through all of this? Like,
It's kind of, you've been thrown to the middle of the sea and you don't know how to swim, but you need to swim because you need to survive. In the Israel army, you're being taught that you are responsible for everything in any position. No one else will take care if you won't take care.
when you think about discipline, it takes to build and grow a company from scratch. How much of that traces back to the army?
I think that the company is like your body and you're responsible for your body.
So for the people who don't know Commit Offshore yet, give us a picture. How big is the team?
So we about 350 plus engineers, talents. 95% of them are technical people. I have it on my wall at the office here that we have success is the only option. Walk out, make the next step, make your next move. Don't stop for a second, okay? Even if it's the wrong one, you fall, you stand up again, and you continue. As long as you're doing things, even if you're failing, eventually you will succeed.
From Ukraine through the military to 350 engineers worldwide. He didn't just build a company, he built the people who built the company. Multiple continents, one vision. A two-part series that you don't want to miss.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Hidden Gems, where we dig deep into the stories, strategies, and minds behind people who have successfully built a company or pushing to grow one. I'm your host, Alistaire Sr., and today I'm sitting with Evgeny, CEO of Commit Offshore. This is a man who built discipline in the military, crossed borders to bet on himself, and turned that foundation into a global company. We're going deep into his personal story, what really took to build Commit Offshore, and where he's taking it next. This is a two-part conversation. You won't want to skip either one. Let's get into it. So, Yevgeny, you were born in Ukraine, migrated to Israel, served in the army, put yourself to 2 degrees, and built a company that now operates across continents. Take me back to the beginning. What was it like before Israel?
I was born in Ukraine and I was raised there until I was about 11 years old. And it was, great childhood. The, Russian and Ukraine's style of teaching people is to be by the book. Okay, so we were taught, and I believe it's also very something that I agree eventually that we need to be by the book. That we need to be right what we are asked to do. So and it was very nice period of time, and growing up in Ukraine to see all the changes and also the migration part. It was challenging to move to a new country. You're a teenager, you're moving to a new place, you need to learn new language, you have new friends, and but I truly believe everything what is you're doing and you're um, faced during your lifetime eventually makes you stronger.
Right, right. I can imagine like moving as a teenager. That must be challenging because when you're growing up, you develop a certain amount of friendships where you are, and then to be moving away from all of that, starting from scratch. Yeah, that I can definitely see how that could be a major challenge. So, what were your feelings like when you're going through all of this? Like, was it like all right, I'm up for another challenge to start making new friends and doing things and learning a new language? Or was it just more like, okay, fine, this is what it is. I have to kind of get through it and just kind of push through.
And actually, it was the last one. There is no other option. You can't stay. You're going, okay, and it's kind of you've been thrown to the middle of the sea and you don't know how to swim, but you need to swim because you need to survive.
Right.
So think about the same approach. You've been, you put in the center of Tel Aviv, okay, like it is a center, new people, new views, new language, you know,
Yeah,
swim.
yeah. Well, glad to hear you swam. I didn't sing. So, what was the hardest part about starting over in a new country, though? Like the thing that hit you personally. the thing that you didn't expect?
I was talking about Ukraine and how we are raised and to be formal by the book. I recall when I went to my new school, I went with a t-shirt, like with a formal short, not even t-shirt, it was a short, okay, that you went almost with a tie, like almost. And then I see people with t-shirts and more flexible, and they can and come to the teacher and say and approach her by her first name, and not like first and last name is in Ukraine. So
Right.
that was the most change mind brain for me to see difference, to see how different people are talking. So, and then someone walked to me and said, don't worry, the shirt that you came and it's a formality, give it 1 week, you'll be local.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, funny enough, I have a similar story moving from different countries, and I was moving from the States to Jamaica. So I had this really strong American accent, walked a different way, spoke a different way. So of course, naturally, I just stood out. So everybody wanted to know, who is this guy? And he talks funny.
Yeah.
Uh, but that came with like goods and bads because all the attention's on you, and and you had to find comfort in yourself to make sure that okay, fine, yes, I am different, that's fine, but I'm gonna be okay. And I think once your personality starts to come out, people forget that you talk differently, people forget that you dress differently, people forget about all of that, and they kind of get to know you. So when it comes to your personality and how you try to navigate through getting through all these different, I would call a cultural shift from the Ukraine to Israel, was that a challenging time for you to kind of shift and get into that culture, do that new set, or would you just kind of stay based on how you were from a foundational Ukraine style way of?
I think it was challenging, but only today I can say that was challenging. During the period of time that I was during that was life. This is like what was my point of view of the world, of the situation, and this is what I need to pass. Today I can understand what was the difficulties and analyze with the age, understanding and looking back. But as teenage, I think it was a challenging experience,
Yeah.
and not only for me. It was challenging for the most people, and I believe it is challenging for whoever is moving from one place to another place.
Okay.
Culture, language, everything. The question is, how do you approach it? What do you do with it? With this, with the thoughts, with this, challenges.
Yep. Yep. All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So, okay, you went into Israel Army. There's a kind of mental discipline that comes from that experience that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't been through it. What did it teach you about how you operate and how much of that do you still carry on today?
Responsibility.
Mm.
That's the major thing. In the Israel army, you're being taught that you are responsible for everything in any position. Okay, you're not only 18 or 20 years boy that responsible for the doing shifts to save your bodies, to be with your bodies. You're not 18 or 20 that you need to be responsible for the data center and make sure everything is working. You're responsible. This is your, no one else will take care if you won't take care. And this is that you will learn very, very fast.
I hear you. And
That when you do think with it, when you imagine that when you go to the Israel army, even if you're not with a fighting force, I didn't serve as a fighter. Okay, I was in the support of the support section of the army that is responsible, for example, for the infrastructure. I was responsible for the data centers, networking, and so on. And think, imagine that army gives the young boys or girls M16, okay, and you take it home, okay, and you're responsible for this weapon, okay, and this is also based on the trust me.
right. And, a lot comes out of responsibility because, especially when you're responsible, whether it's for an M16 that you have responsibility for that, or whether it's, growing a family, you're responsible for your family, or whether it's growing a company, you're responsible for that company, right? And so, when it comes to responsibility and developing a certain discipline around that, that's golden, and I can definitely see how that's easily transferable to any way of life. And I've always heard people who have served in the military in some shape or form that they carry a certain bit of, like you would say, responsibility with them that has made them successful in whatever that they're doing. Okay, so when you think about discipline, it takes to build and grow a company from scratch. How much of that traces back to the army? Is this the same muscle, or did you develop something different?
I think that the company is like your body, and you're responsible for your body. And you have quite many muscles, joints, blood vessels that you need to take care of it. So everything that we do in life, and I did in life, and you're doing that, and who's listening to us, makes a mark on you. Okay, what changes you? Makes your world or your understanding of the world a bit different, and that's what makes you. Okay, so for me, it was many challenges that made me at this point that I wanted to create a company to do something like migration, responsibilities, and languages, like being pushed forward to succeed because no one else is going to help you. So everything makes a mark on you, and then everything becomes as a goal and vision that you put your skills and knowledge and you believe into the execution.
I hear you. And, it's almost like it's not as just straightforward as, okay, it's just responsibility, but layers get added on top that you kind of have to build a certain mindset to make sure that you can drive something through. Because I can definitely see that some people may have the discipline, but they don't have the drive to actually get through where they want to go. And I can see that the responsibility and the discipline is the seed, but if you don't nurture it, and you, like you say, you have that body, you have to do something, and you continue to do it, and you're trying to think of different ways to make sure you can kind of keep that responsibility and growth going. Yeah, I can definitely see how this is something where you have to kind of layer on top of each other to kind of keep things going. Okay.
I want to give additional example for this one. I now recall I was graduating my high school, and I was doing some very complex software development project that was is a um, it's a scored part of my high graduation score, and I was stuck for quite a long time with the technology part. And I was coming to my teacher, and my teacher was sitting with me, my professor, and she said, I cannot help you. It's on you. You know the code. You should understand. And it took me about 1 month until I found out the bug that was there. But the bug, and the teacher taught me,
Yeah.
no one else is going to help you.
Hmm.
I'm not. Your parents can't help you. I cannot help you. Your friends are also stuck. So you're on a dude. You're on your own. So figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the key, trying to figure things out, because when you go through that mental gymnastics and exercises to try and figure things out, when things or challenges come your way, you almost have a bit of arsenal to use to kind of continue to go through, because you've gone through the process of trying to figure it out, whether it's at school or whether it's anywhere else. Your mind is just geared to just be able to have a problem, here's a solution, move it forward. This is awesome. All right. So take me to the part where the degrees now. So after everything you've been through, migration, the army, you went and got a bachelor's and a master's degree. What was driving you to keep going, and what was your ambition? Was it more survival, or was it more something else that you just need to have these degrees to do something else?
Now that I'm looking back, I believe I wanted the first degree. I went deep because everybody had. Okay, it's like this is standard work. We don't have a degree, especially the software degree, and we did. So that one was like kind of ongoing. it was planned. The master degree, I understood that I can do better, or there are additional skills that I can involve with, like develop. And then I decided to take my master science information technology degree. That degree was different. It wasn't traditional software, physics or math. It was more about projects, IT, speaking. Like it was a bit different. And that specific degree gave a lot of personality skills and tools for me to manage people, to work, to present, to think out of the box.
Nice. So it started off with, okay, this is what everybody else was doing, so I have to get a degree, but then the master's degree is what really pushed you to the next level, it seems like. Got it. Okay, so at some point in all of this, like Commit Offshore came into into being. Walk me through the moments. Like, what was a specific conversation, frustration, something that you saw the market was doing that they weren't doing, or where you saw an angle that you wanted to approach? So so now we've got the Ukraine to move into Israel, and then into dealing with the army, getting a responsibility, discipline, getting the degrees, survival, to like be launched, ready to be launching off to take off on something. So now you have Commit Offshore. So how does that fit into all of this?
Survival. It comes eventually that from Ukraine, when we moved, there was no money. And I found myself constantly working on some positions. I started with some low paid salary wages or not connected to IT at all. And then some point I understand IT, like software development, infrastructure, IT, it pays well. Okay. And then I moved to there as a survival to get more money for me, my potential like, family. And that at that point I understand that at some point I understand there is a limit of number of my hours that I can sell, even if I charge a lot. Okay, but it's still I'm limited. Okay, my hours are limited. And that point I started to think about, okay, how can I maximize it? So I started to take projects, hired potential people that worked for me part-time, and then I started to move on growing the potential customer base and people that work for me.
Wow. Okay. When it comes to, I guess, starting a company, what would you say is probably one of the biggest challenges that you were faced with, especially in the beginning? Was it more the time? Was it more the resources? Was it more the people? Was it okay? Was there a moment where it's like I just don't know if this thing is gonna work, or was there a moment where it's like, all right, I see it, I just gotta keep going and just keep moving forward? Like, what was, if you can take me to a time where you had a pivotal moment where like you had to make a decision or you had to overcome something. You can take me through one of those examples.
Actually, I recall that moment very clear. I was starting a company that was supposed to do project-based development and some IT infrastructure networking support or build up, wrap up for the Israel customers.
Mhm.
The project management part was very hard for me and for the people I hired. I wasn't able to manage the project well, especially fixed price projects, because those demand a different skill set to manage fixed price project with the customers, all those change requests, managing quite a lot of negotiations. And some point, some customers say, I don't want your project from you. Give me a team. I want a team. Build me a good team. You know how to pick good guys. I trust your judgment. You're doing fine with projects. I don't need a project. I will tell them what to do. I need team extension. Okay. And from that moment I thought, okay, it's the marginality of team extensions and hiring people offshore is less. From the other hand, it's stable cash flow with happy customers that, eventually, if everything is fine, they will grow more with you.
Right. Yeah. And you always, it's good to look back and see that, okay, yes, this is the moment that things changed, right? Especially that aha moment. I know at the time you probably think, okay, I have to try to figure this thing out. But then that goes right back to that same fundamentals that you've always had, growing up through your childhood. I have to figure this thing out, right?
Yeah.
And because of that mental discipline and those things that you've been through, it all kind of comes together to that moment, right? And then you had the responsibility to do something, you had the ability to figure it out, and now you're able to grow something that is going to be bigger than you, Commit Offshore, global company, still growing, still expanding. And I really can't wait for part 2 of this, where we start to talk more about the growing and the expansion of Commit Offshore. But before we end this particular discussion, if someone's listening to this and they're in the middle of their own hard chapter, maybe they just moved to a new country, or maybe they're starting off from zero to build a company, what would be one thing that you want to leave with them or tell them?
Make the next step. Just woke up, makes the next step, makes your next move. Don't stop for a second. Okay, even if it's the wrong one, okay, you fall, you stand up again, and you continue. And mistake is fine. Even if you do mistake, it's fine. Don't be judgmental on yourself that you did a mistake. Mistakes are fine. Through the mistakes, we'll learn how we can do things better next time.
Right.
So now if you're listening, if you're on a hub charter, you're looking for a job, you move to a new place, it's harsh. Tomorrow is a new day. Just, just do. As long as you're doing things, even if you're failing, eventually you will succeed.
That's golden. That's golden. I think I've heard someone say before, progress over perfection, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As long
Exactly.
as you keep moving forward.
Actually, I love this motto. Maybe I will consider implementing it.
All right, no problem, man. All right, well, that concludes episode 1 of our podcast.